Will Michigan State be a dark horse contender in the Big Ten in 2019? Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, teaming up with SD1 Sports here on SD1 Sports Big Ten channel to bring you Week 1 previews. And Michigan State hosting Tulsa on a Friday night. It's August 30th. It's a 7 o'clock game. You can catch it on FS1. Michigan State coming off a disappointing 7-6 campaign in which they brought back 20 or 21 out of 22 starters from a 10-3 team in 2017, but they finished at 7-6, as we mentioned, just 5-4 in the Big Ten. Out of conference loss to Arizona State and then losing the bowl game 7-6. 7-6. That score is pretty much indicative of Michigan State's play. Great defense, horrendous offense, and they should be maybe not quite as great on defense because they were stellar on that side of the football, but should be significantly better on offense, you would think, this year, and we will run down the Spartans. The Golden Hurricane coming off their second consecutive down season at 3-9, 2-6 in conference play. Tulsa now 5-19 the past two seasons. They've got a three-way quarterback battle looming. We expect the Baylor transfer, Zach Smith, to claim the role in East Lansing in Week 1 on that Friday night. He was a part-time starter at Baylor in 2016, the back half of the season, and then he started 2017 as the starter before he was supplanted by Charlie Brewer, the current starter in Waco. So Zach Smith takes his skills and he goes to Tulsa. He is battling with Luke Skipper and also Seth Bonner, who played but did not play well last season, but they have experience from all three guys. Tulsa's probably best position would be wide receiver. They're three deep right there. Keelan Stokes and also Jarian Anderson, really good players inside. Their game-changing guy on the outside, their burner, is Keenan Anderson, not to be confused with Jarian Anderson, who plays on the inside. So the Anderson twins there of sorts at wide receiver playing for Tulsa, and also Keelan Stokes. So wide receiver, Tulsa's best position, certainly on offense and probably for the entire team because the defense was not good last year. Actually about 20 spots better according to the advanced metrics. They were that bad the season before, but they improved to 96th in the nation in S&P Plus. In Bill Young's 50th and last coaching season in college football, many of you know Bill Young from his defensive stops at Ohio State, USC, Miami, and Oklahoma. He's moved on. Tulsa does bring back 11 of its top 12 tacklers on defense, including what are basically the two stars of the defense. They both play linebacker in Cooper Emiston and Zaven Collins. All right, now let's talk some Michigan State football. This is the Big Ten channel here at SD1 Sports, and you guys want some Big Ten analysis. I don't know that there was a team in college football last year, Miami would certainly be in the running, that was such a dichotomy between offensive and defensive production. Michigan State down the stretch, after scoring some points early, then Brian Lewerke got hurt, and all sorts of people got hurt, including their best wide receiver last year, Felton Davis. They were so banged up, they missed 48 starts on offense among 10 players, that they could barely score double digits. If you look at the scoring output of the Michigan State offense down the stretch, it was abysmal. 7 against Michigan, 6 against Ohio State, 6 against Nebraska. They only scored 14 points against Rutgers. They only beat Rutgers by 4 points. And then in the bowl game against Oregon, they shut down Justin Herbert, one of the top quarterbacks in the nation, for 7 points, but they botched a field goal late and lost 7-6. That was the Michigan State season. Bottom 5 to 10 in the nation in the advanced metrics offensively. They were that bad. Brian Lewerke, again, had a really good sophomore season in 2017 when Michigan State finished 10-3 and won a bowl game against Washington State. But 8 touchdowns, 11 picks last year. He had a bum shoulder, a bad shoulder. He could barely lift his shoulder past that level. He was that banged up. There were indications in the spring game that he was at full strength. He threw the ball well. He threw it downfield. He threw it across the field and looked like the arm strength was back. And Brian Lewerke is not Dan Marino or Drew Bledsoe with a cannon. So he needs all the shoulder strength he can get, but it looks like he's healthy. And he's a runner, he's a gamer, he's a baller. He's like a poor man's Trace McSorley. Cody White would probably be the best wide receiver coming back. He, like everybody else, is banged up, but still caught 42 passes last year. And Darrell Stewart also caught over 40 passes for Michigan State. So those are the two guys that Lewerke looks for. When you think Michigan State, in addition to the defense, you think Mark D'Antonio, tough team, they run the ball and they run it down your throats. Well, that's in the past. That's Le'Veon Bell. That's in the distant past. Michigan State has not had a really good running game since 2014. Even though they went to the college football playoff and won the Big Ten the next year, even though they won 10 games 2 years ago, Michigan State's been lackluster running the football. They have not been a tough team. They've not had a good offensive line. Their rushing attack last year basically hit rock bottom. Number 124 in the nation, averaging 3.5 yards per carry. They were 126th in points scored last year. Connor Hayward comes back as the number one running back. I don't consider him a true number one running back for a program like Michigan State that expects to contend for conference championships, but he would be the guy. And their number two back only gained 3.3 yards per carry as a freshman. All right, for as bad as the offense was, they should be better with just health. The defense was remarkable for most of the season, especially considering the hole that the offense put them in time and time and time again. This was the number one rushing defense in the nation, giving up less than 78 yards rushing per game. All four defensive line starters are back, led by all-world, all-Big Ten guy Kenny Willekes, who had over 20 tackles for loss, and Raekwon Williams in the middle is a force. Joe Bachie is an All-American. He's a great player. He's all over the place. He is a typical Michigan State inside backer. Tyreek Thompson's a dependable player, really good player at the linebacking position as well. Michigan State lost an early entry to the NFL. They lost another player as well out of the secondary, but they got Josiah Scott, their best corner, coming back. He of the no-fly zone. Also, Xavier Henderson. He's going to be playing for Kyrie Willis, who was one of the early entries to the NFL. And Xavier Henderson, this is going to be key for the Michigan State secondary, that he plays well. Josiah Scott was the Red Box Bowl MVP. That's how difficult it was for Michigan State to mount anything, was that their cornerback was their bowl game MVP. Michigan State football. I don't know that we're going to get a huge indication of how good they are against Tulsa, but this is a Michigan State program that, despite all their success, and they went 65-16 from 2010 through 2015 for those 6 seasons, and won a Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, made a college football playoff, were a top 5 team many of those years. This is a team that has gotten off to rough starts. They haven't been upset, but if you look at the game log year to year, they have faced the likes of the Western Michigans and the Central Michigans and Utah State last year, and have been taken to the wire, and they have gotten off to sluggish starts early. I expect Michigan State to roll late, but Tulsa to hang around. Michigan State gets win number 1 at home against Tulsa, 31-13. That's my pick right here at SG1 Sports. Big Ten football. Keep it locked in. We'll be back with another preview very soon.